have. Yeah, so we went all out this year. It was so okay. So if you can hear me, I am going to. Can you guys hear me? Now
Yep.
we are, if you can, we're going to do a quick test. We are now live on Vimeo, but we're not live on LinkedIn yet. So, but we are connected. So you may want to, if you have any inkling of what, if you want to know what others are saying or who's tuning in, you'll have to have a second window or screen open. But it looks like it is working and we are official, okay? So just so that you know, if you can see my screen right now, it's going to start off, there's going to be a moment where we're all together. Can you guys see that? Okay. But we're going to start off. It's not going to happen. There's a probably 4 minutes or so of starting soon to get people to come in. And then there's a 1 minute video. So, and then there's an intro. And at that point, I will come on. And then I will bring you on first. Bradley, okay, and then I will bring you on after. And my apologies, I put a K in your name on one thing, but I see it's an H, so my apologies for the misspelling. And then we will have a real intro. So we are good to go. This is so exciting, and I'm going to hold all of my questions until the live show, and we will go from there. So you guys have a few minutes.
Is this what I should be seeing on LinkedIn, waiting to get in there if I was using my phone, or?
Oh, is it on LinkedIn right now?
It says starting soon, tap to join. So, yeah, there you go. Oh, I don't know.
You walk into work, coffee in hand, only to find a lineup of crashed vehicles. No reports, no emails, just wrecked assets waiting to become your latest headache. Sound familiar? This is the chaos fleet managers face every Monday morning. Imagine knowing about a crash before you even step foot in the office. Uptime provides real-time crash notifications and immediate access to critical details. Stay informed about when and where the crash happened, the department involved, and the severity of the damage. No more waiting on paperwork or tracking down drivers. Faster incident reports lead to faster repairs and maximum fleet uptime. Everything you need is automatically recorded and instantly accessible. NAFA members enjoy exclusive savings on uptime, reducing costs and increasing efficiency. Stop starting your Mondays with chaos. Take charge with Uptime by SHzoom. Learn how Uptime can transform your fleet operations and keep your vehicles on the road. Stop losing time. Stop losing money. Take control of your fleet before the next crash slows you down. A 15-minute call could save your fleet weeks, maybe even months, of costly downtime. The road ahead starts today. Visit us at SHzoom.com or ring us at 800-921-4393 to get started.
Actually, how about now? Can you hear me? Welcome to another Future of Fleet Friday. Boy, I got so excited I forgot to turn my mic on.
You were there for a second.
Oh my goodness, what a beautiful Friday it is. And Bradley, it is such a pleasure to have you join us this Future of Fleet Friday. First Friday in June, I believe, or no. Yeah, it is. First Friday of June. So I will let you do the honors because your list is super long, sir. And then we have our surprise guest that I know that you didn't know would be here until like the last 24 hours, which is great. So introduce yourself, please. I'm going to give you the mic.
Thank you, Ingrid. My name is Bradley Northup. I'm a public works superintendent for the City of Carlsbad. I've got about 15 plus years in government work, working with various government agencies, and 20 plus years in automotive. Started my career turning a wrench at a Ford dealership, starting a family, then going back to school, which was not necessarily the order that I would suggest anybody go into in the future, but it's possible. Don't tell me it's not possible. And started working for the County of San Diego at the beginning of my career in 2009, and working through the ranks there from a technician to a supervisor to then a manager, and then moving over to City of Carlsbad about a month and a half before COVID shut everything down in 2020 as their superintendent of fleet services. And so lots of hats, lots of experiences, lots of involvement over the years with different associations and NAFA, Clean Cities Coalitions, Municipal Equipment Maintenance Association, building up connections, building up friendships, building up resources, and learning a lot along the way. And so really happy to be here. Happy to be able to share experiences and help bridge the fleet gap.
We are so excited that you are here, and what a beautiful lead in, and what a history. I don't think I knew all of those things about you, Bradley, I tell you. So what a nice lead into bridging the fleet gap. So let me ask you, what do you know about the fleet gap? What can you share with others about it? And how did you first learn about it? And then we're going to slide into this matchmaking, because I think this is beautiful. It keeps happening. Keep going.
Well, so I first learned about Fleet Gap actually at the NAFA conference, INE, a couple years back. And really what was intriguing to me about this solution is that it is addressing one of the biggest problems that fleet managers have, is making sure that we can find talent to be able to fill the positions and the vacancies that we have. Competing in the against commercial operators, people that are like me that came from the dealerships, only happens so often when you're competing against a salary at a commercial side. There's a lot less positions open for people to be able to move around as much. And really, time and time again, I talk to different fleet managers in different municipalities, different counties, and they say, I've had a position open for 60 to 190 days where I've only gotten one or two applicants. And it's a lot of the things that come down to it is we need to be more participative in the recruitment processes and the marketing that we get out there, and the position requirements that we have are something that are fairly niche, right? We're not going to be able to hire somebody and train every single person when we have that gap there to fill. So the fleet gap is real, and we've got to be able to do that.
Yeah, so
and the fleet gap is real. And I know if you were there, you mentioned NAFA. If you watched last week, this was taken at NAFA. And I do believe that's where you signed up officially for the fleet gap, correct?
Absolutely.
Is that right? All right. And I think she put it great. When I think it was last week. I think it's been 2 weeks now since Patty's been on the show. But it's changing so many lives right now, just like that, since NAFA. Okay. And you being a superintendent on the public works side, you have so much influence, and you didn't go down your long list, 100 best fleet. I believe you're also a board member. Keep going down. And with that being said, I was so elated when I saw your name come across as not just being eventually, a hiring leader, but also a peer civilian mentor. And there are 3 big takeaways after I bring in your mentee that you'll be meeting for the first time. So many people, they don't understand how to get involved. They don't understand from an employer standpoint what's required, if anything, and they can connect the dots as to how can I help. People don't realize, hey, you can help just by being a sounding board, right? There's so many little things. It doesn't have to be, if we all do something little, that's when big things happen. With that being said, I'm going to bring in, Zach. Let's bring Zach. I'm going to chat with you for a minute, Zach. Hi. So I am so excited. So I was telling Zach, I've spoken to him, and read work and emails because of SHzoom's work with the Air Force, but I've never seen his face before. So to be able to see your face is phenomenal, and to have this connection take place live. So, and it was very hard for me, Zach, before I have you introduce yourself. It was very hard for me not to, behind the scenes, just go right in it. And I said, no, I'm going to hold off to really have a conversation so that it's authentic. So our audience knows that this was not scripted. Okay. So I'm going to hold off on all my questions. But two things I want you to do. I'd like you to introduce yourself. And then I'd like for you, if you wouldn't mind, to share the story of the phone call that you received from me and how unexpected it probably was for you and how that felt.
Yeah. So I've been in fleet management for about 12 years now. Find it to be pretty simple, but there's always that gap of when things happen, of course. But yeah, it's honestly one of the better jobs that I've ever had. Been doing it for the Air Force for as my entire adult life so far. So it's been honestly a good journey, and I've learned a lot. And I'm just ready for that transition to that civilian life. And let's see. So the phone call.
It was so exciting.
I had just gotten off of work. I was on my way home, and my phone starts ringing. I almost didn't answer it, but that was only because I've been getting spam calls. So when I answered, we did end up getting cut off 5 minutes into the call, but she kind of started talking to me about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I did fill out that application." And I was very excited because I was like, "Cool, this is something new, something that no one's really really talked about a lot." And I was like, "Perfect, I will gladly do it because more information that I can get now and pass along, especially to my younger subordinates or troops, the better, because it's kind of all I'm doing is just trying to pass on any and all information I have to them so that they can prepare for their future, whichever route they take." So
let me, and I hear you saying that it's really about family and preparation and being ahead of the game, right? And when you think about transitioning as a whole, what's been the most challenging part of navigating? And I know that you have time; you're a year out, but when you talk about navigating that transition from military, and specifically, just so our audience knows, until now there was not a track in SkillBridge specifically for fleet until SHzoom and NAFA, the National Association of Fleet, partnered with SkillBridge to create this. So besides there not having that track, what transitions share, and how do you think this program might help overcome those challenges?
So I think it's going to help a lot because right now there was really nothing, and there's not a whole lot of information without really, really digging in and trying to see, or even knowing employers that deal with fleet. Even knowing any of that information is just, it makes it a lot harder of how and what employers are going to be looking for, because a lot of the stuff we do it's kind of more like a micromanagement kind of thing, but their way of tracking and like their solutions to problems will be a lot different than ours. So I think that's just the biggest thing, is just not knowing what outside employers are going to want, and being able to do with the fact that NAFA and everyone has teamed up to create the SkillBridge program. That is going to be very beneficial, because they'll be able to actually get hands-on and see how everything's done with outside companies.
You are right. And before now, there was never an opportunity for that to happen. And it all happened, you know why? Because of communication, one side talking to the other. We were teaching a class, SHzoom, at NAFA, and we knew that all these folks wanted technicians and fleet and professionals. And then because of our work with the Air Force, we realized, hey, there was no track for the fleet professionals we were working with, when their time came to transition. And we took it upon ourselves to work for the people that we serve to help bridge that gap. And lo and behold, you were paired with not just anyone. I'm going to bring you on with, and this is the very first conversation we're having. I want to know, actually, let me ask you one more question before I bring him on. Would like, if a fleet leader could only know one thing about the military experience, because I think that's really important, because Bradley is your mentor on the fleet side, and we're going to talk about the importance of networking and building relationships. But you're also going to get a civilian, a fleet mentor who has also been on the military side, and hopefully on the Air Force side if possible, right? Because we know that that is a whole different challenge. So what can you share for those, Bradley, who does not have a military background? So what can you share but he's going to be hiring eventually, likely someone from the military, right? A fleet pro. That's what I like to call you, my fleet pro. So what is the one thing that they may not know for people who have never managed a fleet pro from the Air Force?
Honestly, I'd say the biggest thing is that we travel a lot, from being different locations. You're dealing with different types of vehicles, anywhere from, snow equipment to just military grade. So we deal with a lot of different types of equipment, and being able to manage those and deal with parts and contracts, leased vehicles. We deal with all of it, and it's they're very nitpicky and very detailed with how you have to handle all of those. So that's one
great.
thing with my job, is just reading. So we read a lot.
That is great, and that's beautiful. You know what an asset that is to any fleet person, whether on the public or the private sector side, to have someone so well-rounded. So with that being said, I am going to introduce you to your FleetGap civilian mentor, Bradley. So what you guys may not know is that you guys are in the same region. You're in the same region. This is so exciting. And I want to, what's going through your mind right now? Like, when you signed up for this, both of you, and I'll let you guys, you can go in whatever order. What were you expecting? What were you expecting? And then I'll put my 2 cents in at the end.
Well, I honestly, let me start off by saying, very nice to meet you, Zachary, and thank you so much for your service. It's really a great connection point that this has, brought us all together here. I was ultimately, out of this experience, hoping to make more connections and help more people. I think I've taken that kind of ethos of whatever I can do to help others succeed is, doesn't have to be my fleet. It doesn't have to be, any want or need for me. There's a lot of selflessness in the things that we try and do on the government fleet side of things. And so I'm just really, really happy to be able to be here and help,
Aw.
and whatever I can do to be able to make the transition easier for you. And then, to hearing you a little bit talk about your peers, and the people that you're leaving behind. One, that's a hard transition. 12 years is a long time. So that's a hard step away, man. That's like leaving a family. So, making sure you keep those connections and then sharing this experience with them is going to only help them benefit as well as they transition. So kudos for thinking of
Okay.
them as well.
Kudos for thinking of them. Zach, first impressions.
I'm not quite sure yet. Just because just hearing him talk, sounds like he's really ready to help service members that are trying to transition out and still stay in the same career is definitely awesome. It is not a lot of people will do it. They'll just kind of be like, oh no, they'll be fine. They have a lot of programs that they can deal with to be able to get out. So that's really awesome. That makes me feel very comfortable. I wasn't sure what to expect other than probably a whole lot of information of like what we could do or how we could build our resumes and anything else. And yeah, that's the one thing that stresses me out the most, though, about
resume.
transitioning out is leaving the people behind. I think of my troops as my kids, so they work hard and they make mistakes, but they definitely are growing, and I want to be able to set them up for success to where if they decide to continue on or to make that transition out, that is my goal, is to make sure they've got everything to make their choice later on.
I love that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bradley.
Yeah, I was going to say, Zach, for what you described as what the life is like in the service and especially in fleet management in the Air Force, you got a lot of parity already for a lot of things for government fleet and government service in the private side. You've got a lot more options for different varieties of agencies that are hiring for different purposes. They'll specialize in certain things, or they'll provide services to the residents, at a different varying level. I think something to take away from a transition that you're going to be going through here shortly is you're going to be able to find a better sense of place in finding a fleet home outside of the Air Force. That's going to be a lot less travel. Let's put it that way in most scenarios. So start thinking about where you want to settle down, brother, because you're just going to put it in for where you want to stay and where you want the kids to be, and your family to develop, and and you dedicate the next steps of your life to be able to work towards helping other fleets. You've learned a lot in the Air Force, and the Air Force has trained many leaders previous to you as well. You may not know of all of them, but there are quite a few to reach out to and be able to, I'll make those connections with you of other Air Force fleet managers over the years that have progressed and succeeded and excelled in the fleet management sector, especially government service. So I'm excited to be able to help make connections, and yeah, just really cool to be here.
I love it. See, so for those of you who you don't recognize the value of connection, especially within the fleet industry, you said it all. And I was looking for that quote from Patty last week, Brad. I need to find it and I'll share it. She said, we're like family, whatever you need. And that's how she took me under her wing when I first came on. And she happened to be president of NAFA at the time. I knew no one. This is how you network in the real world. And I say the real world because I heard you say, and I always want to call you Sergeant, like it's so weird just calling you Zach. Right? But I heard you say, they're like your children, they're your family, and you've been together for that long. It's a whole different. It's especially if you're going in with no connections. It's hard. It's difficult. It's quite difficult. So my message Bradley, I'm so grateful for you coming on to talk about mentoring and not just talking, but being the change that you want to see. Because I hope that Bradley encourages you out there, NAFA and other fleet leaders, to take the survey and get involved, even if it's only making introductions or just picking up the phone and saying, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. All right. So today, because crazy enough, we're almost out of time. This is so exciting. I think we might have to have a part 2 next month. But I do want to get around to the resume, right? We're not going to share the entire resume, but Bradley, I want to put this, Bradley's seeing this for the first time. So they've never had a discussion before. This was not scripted. I was just so excited just to see your face, Zach, because I hadn't seen your face before. And I really thought we were going to go through, I'm so used to going through things with the military where I never see the face because you're not allowed. So I was just elated that you were going to be able to join us and actually engage. With that being said, I want to pull up a portion of your resume. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but I wanted to think about what is it that everyone has in common, okay? That we can talk about. And everyone tends to have a header on their resume, right? Now, what I will tell you too is what Bradley said about making those introductions and being on both sides of it. Now as the CEO of SHzoom, I will tell you, generally resumes are formalities in the big, unless they really need people, they generally have people identified through those relationships, right? Okay, so, but even though it's a formality, you want to make sure that it's written in a way that now most companies use AI, that it's catching those. Most humans aren't looking at this stuff anymore. Okay, so if for some reason this made it to Bradley's desk before it hit AI, right, and Bradley was actually looking at it, but that's the number one piece of advice, right, because I don't know if that's mentioned or if you talk about it much, and the Air Force, but you got to make it through that initial screening if you don't have a connection. If you have a connection, the initial screening, it doesn't matter, all right? So it's twofold, all right? So let's actually look at, can you see the whole thing or only a portion of it? Can you see the resume or just a portion of it?
Just a portion of it. It looks like it's kind of condensed in.
Yeah, it is. Here, let me see if I can get a better copy. But for now, let's talk about this professional summary at the top. I'm going to start with you, Brad. And I will even send you a copy right now, a full copy, okay, so that you can see it. But when you're looking at the professional summary, even this piece right here. Let's talk about this piece right here. What does that mean to you as it relates to the people that you hire for fleet? Now, I know you're public works, so you have a broad scope. But let's put your back on the day when you were just fleet. What are you looking for? Does that stuff matter to you? And if it does, why? And if it doesn't, what matters in just a couple of seconds, 30 seconds.
I think just having a quick glance, and I haven't been able to take a closer view at it. Formatting is first and foremost, and there's all kinds of different selections and choices there. The introduction piece is really what your intent is, right? Here's your professional experience, and then here's what I can do with it. Pulling those skill sets, those bullet points down to say, this is what I know and I'm very comfortable with. Give your level of comfort or experience to say, hey, I'm an expert in this, or hey, I'm still learning and this is, what I'm still working on. Just be truthful in that. I think when it comes to the AI piece, having that bulleted identification by each individual skill set gets you through that screening process. But also understand every resume is tailored to every job application. And if the resume doesn't change for every job application, it'll never get past the screening, because you can't just have the generic, here's my one resume. This is the job, but that job is specifically going to be screened for different elements and different items. Super easy for someone like you that's got years of experience and you've been working through, all of your skill sets over the years. You're really just finding that parity of, well, when they're talking about, word processing. Instead of saying I've got Microsoft Office experience, you're saying word processing experience, and you're making that match to get through the AI piece. That's just pro tip right there. That being said, if you get to a certain agency, or again, to Ingrid's point, you get to the the connections are being made, making it very replicative, or excuse me, representative of you yourself. If you read this and say, yep, that's me 100%, then that's going to communicate to that hiring manager of a very clear understanding of what I should expect. And then that's getting your foot in the door, so to speak, right? It really comes down to the interviews as well. When we start talking about, you have your first set of interviews, get to know, do your research, and even before you did some of the AI stuff on a resume, depending on the level of the hiring, make sure that you've done a little bit of the research to the company and to the company's directives or visions or values, because they may put some of that stuff into the AI models to kind of filter things out. So do a little bit of whatever you're targeting, whatever you're looking for, do the research ahead of it and plan, kind of get your game plan together of how I'm going to attack getting through this barrier,
So what I heard you say is plan and research. That boils down to planning and research. Whether you have connections or not, you're planning and you are researching. And you said those, having done having fleet conversations on both sides, I know that the terminology changes. Like in the Air Force, they'll say accidents and abuse, reporting, and then in public sector, it's different terms. What I want to do is make a call for the leaders who have been in the some branch of the military in the fleet department, so we can start making those connections, right? Because there's so much that we call those transferable skills, right? But there's no playbook for fleet transferable skills when it comes to even within the military branches, because it's very different from Army to Air Force. So I think that piece we must begin to build those blocks if we're going to make a meaningful difference. And speaking of a meaningful difference, this leads me in because we're out of time and I want to continue. I'm hoping that I can bring you both back on for another segment. But if you are a hiring leader, and I know that you're out there because we have all your surveys. Thank you for completing the survey. If you completed the survey but you haven't done this, and it makes no difference, okay? We have SHzoom, NAFA, we've done all the hard work for you. The only thing you must do is share your current opening. Come on the show and talk about it if you'd like. And then there's the share the MOU that you got via email when you signed up to be a leader. And complete the ethics training before when? Before October 1st. Okay. And if you haven't visited, SHzoom.com/FleetGap is where you want to go. And again, you can find out more about the whole FleetGap initiative and how to get involved. But it really is this simple. It's 3 action items. 3 action items. You meet before October 1st, and then you get a hire come October 1st. And that is a beautiful, beautiful place to be in. Going forward, what I want to do is have meaningful discussion around your resume, if that's okay, during our next, because I think by you being open to share, you're going to help so many others, whether they watch this now or they watch this later, right? And then I want to bring a segment in where we're talking about those transferable skills and how to relate that, okay? And again, how does it help? It's a win-win. It's helping these fleet leaders, they're desperate. Some of them have had these spots open for over a year. Okay. And then we have you guys who didn't have a track down fleet before now, right? We as SHzoom, we work on both sides, on the fleet side and the shop side, right? So we see this. We even have dealerships now saying, oh, can we be a part of the program? Okay. So it's growing, and it's growing organically, and I love it. And it's growing because of people like you, Bradley, and people like you, Zach, right? You're helping more people than what you know. With that being said, last words, I'm going to call you Sergeant. Zach, last words, Zach.
No, thank you for having me. Bradley, it was great to finally meet you. I hope I can in some way help you as well as being a mentor. But I'm looking forward to the transition, and I'm looking forward to asking you a lot of questions, and just to
I'm here for
hopefully
you,
make
brother.
things a little easier, and then being able to pass that along, especially like this stuff, being able to pass it along to the future of Fleet.
Fleet, yes, and that reminds me, and Bradley, maybe when we get back from maybe next month, and if you can check with your peers, Zach, would it be helpful to have like a working session where you have multiple leaders and you get feedback on your resume and you do mock interviews with people who are actually hiring? But and I think that might be helpful. If you think that will be helpful, let us know. We are building this for you and with you, okay? So this is a group. We don't have all the answers, but we got to start building those blocks now, and we need you to do it. So complete the survey and tune in to our next feature of Fleet Fall Friday. See you later.
See you guys.